This Mexico City Grand Prix betting picks edition of the F1 Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100x. That's right, turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $500. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month and start making smarter bets today. Plus, NBA is back, and so is the NBA Gambling Podcast. To celebrate, we're giving away an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA Dog for all of the details. Get ready for speed.
You just wait, sunshine. You just wait.
Get ready for the passion.
To whom it may concern you.
Get ready for the raw emotion.
Sì, ragazzi! Grazie, grazie, grazie! Dai, forza Ferrari!
Get ready for the F1 Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb. And it's a brilliant day here in the F1 Gambling Podcast, here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He is Cody Zeeb. I am Rod Villagomez. And I'm sorry,
I was hoping you were going to keep it up the whole episode.
For the sake of my friends that are British, I will do no such thing to them. I already insulted them enough with the British accent that I really can't do, but I don't know what it is about it. Like, I mean, obviously, you know that we both come from a NASCAR background, and when we hear, Waltrip or any of these guys do their famous things, it always gives us the warm and fuzzies. But like, I don't know what it is about the warm, inviting tone of Crafty and like all those guys. It melts my heart when I watch F1.
It does. It's the accents are great. It feels like part of the F1 experience. We'll work on our accents in the off season, and maybe we'll come back with new accents next year.
I know that the bosses wanted us to find somebody with a British accent to do this show because they're like, it doesn't feel authentic when you guys do it. And I was like, no, you're right. But
Here we are anyways.
On the cusp of a Mexico City Grand Prix. We keep our northern hemisphere, the western part of the world.
We're in the Americas.
Yeah, in the Americas at some point. Stretch going in Mexico City. Last week, Cody, it was another Max Verstappen show. There was plenty of intrigue behind it. Not the least of which was that Lewis Hamilton, you're on the podium. Lewis Hamilton, you're not on the podium.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Make sure you check with your books. Each book is different. Sometimes they don't necessarily pay out properly. I know, like DraftKings, if you had the podium bets there, it's their rules state that they pay out at the time of the podium presentation, which at the time of the podium presentation, Hamilton was on the podium. So argue with them if you have to, because we've seen it in NASCAR. You see it everywhere, right? They'll, the results say this, and then it's like, yeah, but your rules say you'll pay out according to this. Dealt with it on the NASCAR side. Recently, NASCAR disqualified a guy and then undisqualified him 2 days later. So it can be a mess. That's part of the racing world. It's part of how it goes. When you randomly select 4 cars and 2 of the 4 fail, that's an interesting thought. But hey, whatever. It's in the past. Hopefully, again, make sure you check the rules or hopefully you got paid on it properly. If you did have it, they were good bets. And I'm gonna stand by that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And 1000%, we were on the right driver to finish second in that one. And that obviously was Lewis Hamilton, best car that wasn't Max Verstappen.
2 more laps and he'd have won the race. God.
I really think that
Those
was
brakes were going. Oh,
and Max knew it too. You should.
And then you can't. If Lewis wins that, you can't disqualify him then, right? Because come on.
Yeah. And even then, I still don't understand it. But whatever. That's the inner working. We'll leave
Again,
Austin behind
yeah.
it. It was still a good race. Absolutely. But
On to Cincinnati, on to Mexico.
yeah, we're on to Cincinnati. But we're on to Mexico indeed. We should start setting up some of those picks because we're anxious to get to. I mean, I know that the NASCAR season is winding down. F1 still got some time left, but
let's wind it down too, Rod. We got 4 left.
I know.
Man, it's I mean, we're here, but on a nice little stretch run. We had a race last week. Obviously, we're back Mexico this week, Brazil next week, before the week off, before the Vegas. Oh man, I'm so excited to watch those cars take on Vegas because that is going to be, whoo, buddy.
I'm so mad that we can't get out there this season. I have a feeling though that it's going to be an absolutely crazy mess.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be insane.
Yeah, don't want to try and take my chances. I'll wait till the next one. That's fine. I'm okay. I'm not in a hurry.
I'll be back for a few seasons, so we got time.
Yeah, indeed. So, all right, let's start setting up our race and our picks when we get back. But let's tell you first about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy has a way for you to play alongside your favorite football team, and as we know now, drive along with your favorite drivers, both NASCAR and F1, all season long. Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending the first deposit bonus up to $500. $100,000 Sundays continue on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players are going to win $10,000 each. We're going to give you plenty of Underdog Fantasy plays on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast show. Maybe we'll sneak in an F1 if they give it to us in time in that one as well. So make sure you join us on that episode as well. Ooh, so watch along, make your picks, maybe make a little cash over at Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. And when you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. You an NBA fan? Well, the NBA is back. And to celebrate, we're giving away an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA dog to submit a screenshot of you playing NBA Underdog using our promo code SGPN. One random winner is going to get an NBA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/NBA dog. We should start giving away racing gambling podcast hoodies. Those things are slick.
They are pretty sweet. We might need to do that.
I think we are going to need to do that. All right. We head, like I said, to the Autodrome Hermanos Rodriguez. That is the track that we are going on today. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's
the Villagomez really coming out and Rod there.
That's what happens when you accidentally can speak the language a little bit of what you're actually doing. So now, granted, all of my Spanish-speaking audience out there is going to be like, and I'm going to say to you, you're right.
It's American Spanish, all right? Take what you get.
All I know is that as I'm walking down the street more often than not, I get a lot of people talking to me in Spanish, and I look at them and I say the 3 words I know, and I either get punched in the face or a beer, which is perfect for me. So, of course, this first Grand Prix here was in 1963. We are going to run 71 laps around this 4.304 kilometers, so just under 3-mile track for a race distance of 305 kilometers. The track record here belongs to Valerie Bottas, 1 minute 17 seconds, 0.7774. 2 DRS zones in some very, very crazy spots. Not very long DRS zones at all between turns 9 and 10, and between if you can call it between turns 14 and 15. There's literally like a. I mean,
how is that even a turn? I'm sure that counts as a corner, Rod. It's like this.
I want to see some overtaking on that, though. That's like literally. I mean, that's if you're jumping a curb, that's what that is. Between 14 and 15. So big long stretch though between turn 17 and turn 1. Obviously, that's where the speed trap is at. Cody, this looks like the state of Virginia. That's what this track looks like.
Okay, I'll give you that. I was trying to, like a ghost flying away or something. It's almost Halloween. Maybe, I guess. That's
like
about as close as I was going to get.
A stealth bomber. Or the underside of a Stingray.
There you go.
Okay, we'll take that.
Underside of a Stingray. So
underside of a Stingray.
That's what the circuit looks like.
Jesus Christ. People
are we gonna keep this bit up next year and see if we'll have to just not go back and listen and see what we come up with, and then go back and listen to last year's episodes or this year's, whatever.
Do we have? I think we have to come up with it. I think we have to come up with a way to replace it.
See if we still had the same guesses or if they've altered.
I love it. All right. Well, then let's do this. Let's just go ahead and get to the bets. There's really not a whole lot of news past that. Obviously, there's no intrigue as to who's going to win the any of the championships. So
The
I think it's just
championship,
time
the
to set
race,
bets.
it's all Max, right?
It's all
So
Max, but
let's get into the good stuff. Let's get into the bets. All right, Rod, first up for me. So I'm going to give this out both ways. You could take it either way. You could take it both ways. I was going to start with Checo to get on the podium. Sergio Perez, obviously, minus 125. And then I was looking at it, and a Red Bull double podium is plus 120. Obviously, the Max side of that seems fairly safe, right? It's not always a given thing, but he's minus 10,000 to win the race. So feels pretty safe that he would be on the podium. So if you want to make it plus money, you could play it that way. Play it either way. Look, it's Mexico. He's going home, the home track bump. We see it for a lot of these guys. They have this one circled. They want to perform well. And Checo's been pretty good here in the past, right? Third place, 2022. That was on the podium. Third place in 2021, also on the podium. No race here in 2020, obviously, with COVID. Seventh place in the rally point car in 2019. That was a good run. And he's done pretty decent here lately. Fourth last week, obviously, in the United States here, and second place at Belgium. He's got 8 podium finishes this season. I think Checo's had this one circled. Coming home, you got to perform in front of the home crowd. And then obviously Max is likely going to be on the podium. And again, you can play it both ways, right? Because if Max isn't on the podium, then Checo's almost certainly getting up there, right? And I think that it's going to be a Red Bull type of day, a Red Bull type of weekend. Checo wants to show up and perform well at his home track. So yeah, Checo podium minus 125, Red Bull double podium plus 120. Play either, play both. It's in your hands.
Checo
trying to
wants
come up
to.
with something there.
Checo wants to? No. Checo needs to. Checo had every opportunity to perform in front of the guys because obviously Austin, there's a lot of fans from Mexico in that Texas area, and they all were there to cheer him on. Unfortunately, they didn't get the finish they wanted out of him, but yeah, I mean the pressure's on. And you heard Horner talk about just how much pressure is on Checo right now. There's like they asked him, they said, so what about Checo? And he's like, well, Checo needs to do well. And it's like, yeah, we know this, Christian. We know.
I thought it was crazy too. He moved into the top 10 in F1 starts this past weekend too.
Wow.
So he's been around a lot. He's got the experience. He's been on this track plenty of times. He's performed well here in the past. Again, one of those deals where you go home. Charles Leclerc was the shining example back in Italy with both the Ferrari guys, right? They've got certain races circled, and this is that one for Checo.
Speaking of shining or people that have been around a long time, Lando Norris has not been around a very long time. In fact, and this season, this kid is tearing it up right now. So we're gonna put him back on the podium. You're giving us plus money on Caesars for Lando to get on the podium at plus 110. I will say that basically the podium has been Lando's home away from home over the last few races. In fact, you got to go back to Monza. The last time he didn't finish on the podium, second at Marina Bay, second at Suzuka, third at Losail, second in Austin. Lando's been on the podium. I mean, it's been Max Verstappen, but it's been Lando. Like he's nipping at Verstappen's heels, and there's been a lot of times where one slip up from Max and Lando's winning this race. Like that's how close it's been between these guys. He's put the pressure on. Okay, Rod, it's 19 seconds the last time. I know. But for 19, if you could keep it under 30 seconds for Max, that's nipping at his heels.
That's a win in its own.
that's a Max playing around with a pit stop away from him, being able to be like 2 seconds from it. But again, plus money for Lando on the podium. I feel like this is a steal given the fact that he's done that 6 times over the course of this season. And for somebody that's not in Ferrari, for somebody that's not in Mercedes, for somebody that's not in Red Bull, McLaren has put some moves on. They threw down the fastest pit stop last week. Again, I mean, I think I said something about McLaren.
They're almost turning into the auto. They're taking over for Red Bull in the pit
kind
stop
of are at this point. Yeah. So, I mean, again, this team has done fantastic stuff. And I wanted to put Piastri as a top 6 car, but he's pretty much been the one that's the more inconsistent of the two. Piastri can start well, but Lando finishes well as well. So I think, again, plus money for him in the podium this week. He's got an 8th and a 9th place finish on this track, if you even want to just kind of go back to that. But you almost can't necessarily compare the two because this season has been a breakout season for Lando Norris, and I think that continues this week. So give me plus 110 for him to sit on the podium.
Yeah, I like it. No arguments from me here. Next up for me, I'm going to go over to Daniel Ricciardo. He's back in the car, obviously, was at Coda this past weekend. Had a decent day, right? He finished 12th in the sprint race, actually. Had a pretty good showing there. Had the fastest lap with like 2 to go. Yuki stole it from him there at the end. The result wasn't necessarily the greatest, but it was his first race back. Liam Lawson had looked pretty good in that car. And then previously at this track last year, he was in McLaren, obviously, but finished 7th place. He was 12th in 2021, so right outside of the points finish, and 8th place here in the Renault car in 2019. I think Daniel Ricciardo gets back into the points finish this weekend, plus 225 over on DraftKings.
Yeah, poor Danny. I mean, that smile every time he pops on the what you call it, intro. I'm always like, man, that guy. He's such a happy guy, but
possibly the greatest smile ever.
He does. And I really do want him to finish in the points because obviously we know that he's capable of doing it. He did it a lot and he needs to do it again. So try to find a way to get him there. I think I like that as well. All right. So for me, this is kind of crazy because I started with one and then I was like, well, but then maybe there's a chance that both. And then I said, well, to hell with it. There's an actual bet that puts them both in together. So here's how I'm going to do this. It's almost like a ladder, right? So at first I started with Alex Albon as a points finisher here, and that's at plus 200 over on DraftKings. And look, if you look at points finishing as far as what's going on, like it's so difficult for you to find good odds on point finishing because there's a lot of negative numbers on there. So for plus 200 for Albon to finish in the points, I think that's a great steal. On this track alone, he's got 2 starts. He did finish in the points in one of them, in a 5th place finish in 2019. And in 2022, he actually had a 12th place finish in this Williams car. So not bad there. But I'm also kind of riding what he's done over the last few weeks, right? I mean, he's got 5 points finishes since Canada. So he had a 7th place in Canada. He finished 11th in Spielberg, though, which is just close. Finished in the points over there in Great Britain. 11th in the Hungaroring, and then 8th at the Dutch Grand Prix, 7th at Monza, 11th at Marina Bay, 16th in Suzuka, 13th at Losail, and then 9th. He actually did get a points finish last week in Austin. So he's there. I mean, and they were talking about it on the broadcast too, about how he's sort of he's just inching his way into decent enough finishes, and I think he can get there again this week. So I like him at plus 200 to finish in the points. And then his teammate, Logan Sargent, he didn't finish in the points last week, but because of the disqualifications, he managed to get a 10th place finish officially in the books. His first ever 10th place finish. No, I'm just kidding. But really, it was a better finish for him there. So I don't know if I think Albon's going to be good. I think his teammate should be equally as good. And Logan Sargent needs to do something. He had one of his best runs last week. So maybe he builds on that. Maybe he's able to get into the points alongside Albon. Maybe people take each other out in the beginning of the race, and all of a sudden Sargent's running in 11th and he manages to find his way to 10th before the end of the race. So 12-1 for Sargent to do it. And then look, if I think both Williams are going to be in the top 10, you might as well hunk them together. Williams double points finish, 35-1. I mean, look, if you think both of them are going to be up there, if you don't, just pick one and go with it. And if that's the case, I would suggest Albon. But if you think both, then maybe sprinkle something on all 3 of these, like a first touchdown bet like we talk about in NASCAR, and just kind of go from there. But maybe this is a better Williams week than we've seen over the last few weeks of the season.
Yeah, this is a great way to walk the ladder. I think you start with the Albon, right? He's only 2-1. It's good odds. He's the most likely to do it. You step up with Sargent. Then you've got both of them covered in case one doesn't get it and the other one does. But you throw in that 35-1 in case they both step up there. Again, we've seen a little bit of stepping up and a little bit better from them. And so I think that it could happen this weekend.
All right, let's break this up, and I'm going to tell you about Hall of Fame bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. You can enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off of your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. Let's continue down this road of bets for this Mexico City Grand Prix. Cody, where are you taking us next?
Yeah, next up for me, going to go back to our guy, Pierre Gasly. He is minus 125 on DraftKings for a points finish. He's also 9-1 for a top 6 finish over on DraftKings. Going to take a little bit of both there. Gasly, again, just continues to impress, continues to run well. Last week in the U.S., 6th place finish. 3 of his last 5, he has been inside the points. And in all 5 of those races, he's been inside the top 12, which means he's right there. He is close to getting inside of the points. He's got 9 points finishes on the entire season. He's made the podium once, 3 times, Rod. He's finished inside the top 6. You're getting him at 9-1 to finish inside the top 6 again. And then previously at this track, he's been pretty good here. 11th place last season, so right outside of the points. 4th place in 2021, a nice solid run from him there. 9th place in 2019, 10th place in 2018. His first start even in 2017, he finished in 13th place. So again, in after his first start in 3 of his last 4, he's been in the top 10, 4 for 4, finishing inside the top 11, getting points or getting very, very close to points. Don't mind paying a little juice at minus 125 for that. And then the 9-1 for the top 6. That's kind of the cherry on the cake in case he qualifies really well, in case he runs really well up there at the front, which we've seen him do. He's gotten a podium finish even this season. 3 times he's been in the top 6. So Pierre Gasly, points finish minus 125, top 6, 9-1 over on DraftKings.
And I picked the wrong Alpine, obviously, because Ocon just completely just let me down. Didn't even take very long for that to not happen. So
it's been falling apart for Ocon a little bit here lately. But
really
Gasly continues to hold up his end of the deal. So I think he's the guy you got to keep focusing in on.
I agree. All right, I'm going to take a stab at this one. And really, this is a coin flip either way. There's really just no way about it. And obviously, we didn't see a safety car this last race. So I think the trend continues. And at plus 125, I'm going to say that we don't see a safety car on this track whatsoever. I know there was one last season on this race, but again, like these guys, it just feels like a different energy this season. We haven't seen a ton, I think, of safety cars, and I haven't gone back completely and looked through every single one. And I will say this: if you are a person who loves to take stats and do all kinds of stats, I implore you. I want this for next season, and maybe even if you want to jump on for the end of this season. I want you to dig through some of the old races for us and some of the old because I want better stats on safety cars and stuff, because it's not just a simple Google search away to find the history of safety cars. So if you're more inclined to do stats, we want you on this one. But again, for me, we didn't see it last week. This track, it doesn't feel like one where there's going to be a ton of safety cars. We've seen Max jump out to, I'll even give you the later on about margins of victories and stuff. But if you're able to get that big of a gap between you and the car behind you, there's not a lot of safety cars involved in that one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that there will not be a safety car in this race at plus 125.
Yeah, I like it. I think we're on a solid trend of no safety cars at least 1 week. So that's good enough for me. And again, they say with the coin flip, what do, Rod? You take the side with the plus money. So I like it. Plus 125. That is a good one. All right. My fast lap darts of the week. Again, it's the best way to bet on it, right? Max going to win likely, but Max does not get the fastest lap more times than he does. Books are starting to get a little smart to it, right? The odds have definitely come down. We got them real good a couple of weeks ago with when we hit on Alonso, the big one, but still some good numbers out here. I'm going to take Perez 10-1 home track, Rod. If you can't win the race, if you're going to have a good day at least, let's go out there, grab the fastest lap. I think that he has the chance to get that done. The last couple of seasons, let's see. Last year, it was George Russell had the fastest lap. Checo was the second fastest lap. And then in 2021, it was Bottas, Max, and Checo was the third fastest lap. So he's been really close to getting it the last couple of seasons. I think he could get it done this year at 20-1. And again, Max is going to run away with it, but this is where you can hit your longer shots. And then just because of the randomness we have seen, I think you've really got to take some of these long shots. We've seen Piastri at a long shot get it. Last week it was Yuki. We've seen Zhou Guanyu get it earlier this season. Anybody can get the fastest lap. You get that late pit stop, whatever, you go out, you lay down the lap. Give me Daniel Ricciardo, baby. 100-1, Rod. Daniel Ricciardo to get the fastest lap. Last week, he had the fastest lap until like 2 laps to go when Yuki stole it from him. So he's really close to getting it then. And you go back to last season, he was the third fastest lap behind Checo there. So yeah, I think that's, again, not a ton of data behind that, but I think he can get it done. And again, there seems to, for the most part, be no real rhyme or reason to who gets the fastest lap. A lot of it's just situationally based, who gets the opportunity to lay it down. But I do think the home effect of it, if he can lay down the fastest lap for Perez, is a good one. And then Ricciardo at 100-1. I would love to root for it. He came pretty close last year, being the third fastest lap. Came real close last week. Let's roll it back this week with Daniel Ricciardo, 100-1.
It's all about who wants to throw those soft tires on and go lay down a fast lap at the end of the race to steal a point from. It's not even about taking it for themselves. It's literally about stealing it from Verstappen at this point.
Yeah, anywhere you can get that extra point. We've talked about it in the driver's race, in the constructor's race. It all matters. So grab that point where you can.
Speaking of grabbing points, well, Max Verstappen is going to probably end up grabbing seconds here. And I found that the winning margin here, I like over 12.5 seconds at -133. I know it's juiced, but if you're going to bet on Max to win, this is the cheapest way you're going to get it. I think in this case, over 12 seconds. Well, let's look back at the last Grand Prix, 2022, Mexico City. Winning margin between Max and Lewis, 15 seconds. 2021, the winning margin between Max and Lewis, 16.5 seconds. In 2019, the winning margin between Lewis and Sebastian Vettel, well, it's not Max Verstappen, so it was only +1.7, so you can't really count that as well. But the winning margin between Max and Sebastian Vettel in 2018, 17 seconds. There's a trend, right? In 2017, Max Verstappen beat Valtteri Bottas, 19 seconds. It just, look, if Max Verstappen's going to win this race, he is going to clobber everybody and therefore win by a ton of time. And we've seen it all this season long where he just continues to put seconds between him and the guy in front of him. So I think this winning margin over 12.5 seconds, like I said, at -133 is almost the best way to bet a Max, because they're taking away fastest lap and win by putting that at like -200 as well. So just take the winning margin and call it good. And then it doesn't have to be even Max that wins. If some of the other, if Hamilton does end up beating Verstappen by 13 seconds, then you're good to go. It's not going to happen, but if it does, then you're happy.
Hey, covers you in different ways. And again, you got to get creative to find ways to bet Max to win. This is a solid way to do it. Yeah, I like it.
All right, get out your pen and paper. We're going to go over our bets for this Mexico City Grand Prix. Cody started you off with Checo on the podium in his home race at -125. And you can also ladder that up to Red Bull double podium at +120 on DK. I put Lando Norris on the podium at +110 over on Caesars. Cody gave you Daniel Ricciardo to have a points finish at +225 over on DK. I said Albon would finish in the points at 200 on DK, or you could also put Sargent on in the points total at 12-1, or just put them both there at 35-1. Williams double points as well. Cody gave you Pierre Gasly at -125 on DK as a points finisher and +900 for a top 6 finish. I said there wouldn't be a safety car at +125. Cody said that Perez would throw down a fastest lap at 10-1 at home, and Danny Ricciardo at 100-1 to take the fastest lap as well. I said the winning margin would be over 12.5 seconds at -133. Cody, that is it for our F1 coverage of the Mexico City Grand Prix. Cannot wait to check this out at a reasonable time.
Yeah, again, nice afternoon time again. It was lots of screens going on last weekend, but nice to have them there in the afternoon. So I'm excited. Glad we get F1 3 weeks in a row. Oh, what a treat. Only got 4 races left, but let's go make some more money on these races.
Indeed. All right, Cody, as we wrap things up, let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
You can follow me on X at Husker_Zeeb. And yeah, follow the show as well. Check out the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. I've heard those guys do pretty decent over there as well. So give them a shot.
They're okay. They're no us, but they'll hold their own over there. So, all right, I'm on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio, everything I got going on. Check it all out there. And of course, keep up with me and Cody on the NASCAR Gambling Podcast. We'll see you again soon. Obviously, there's a week off, and then we'll be back again. But
next week, we're back.
Oh, no, next week.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah. Let's go.
Brazil, let's go.
Jesus Christ. All right. It's time to go. We'll talk to you guys next time. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.